Okay, welcome. Some of you can hear my voice is not that good. I wanted to have this talk like I think 3 months back or something like that, and I had to stay sick at home. That's why due to recent events, I did a different talk, and I want to talk about the benefits of and joy of having a small kid in daycare. And I got sick 10 times this year. Ask me anything. Yes, no, just joking. We will stick to Enterprise Laravel, nearly a love story. Why nearly? Because it started very, very good, and at the end it became very, very difficult at the end. But I will talk about that. So let me first introduce myself. My name is Rainer Friedrich. I'm a certified solution and software architect at Parkside Interactive. I'm working on multiple client projects and also on something that Parkside calls Beyond AI GPT. This is like where we do like GPT projects for clients. I'm currently working mainly on Node.js, TypeScript, Next.js, Nest.js projects, so not that much with PHP anymore. But I mean, at least like 1 day a week is I'm working with PHP. In this project that let me first talk a little bit about Parkside because I'm working. So we have founded 2007. We have 120 employees. We are here in Basel. We have locations in Linz, Vienna, Graz, Porto, and San Francisco. We have a very high recommendation rate after projects. We did over 500 projects, and we have people from 22 nations. We have very good ratings. We have a Red Dot Design Awards, and so on and so on. Whoever wants to have marketing information can visit me after the talk. This is the onlyest marketing thing that I'm going to do. So this is the first Laravel project that I ever did. I worked with like 10 Symfony projects before. I worked with Java. I worked with Drupal a lot. But this I would like to share the experience that I did, having a lot of experience in other things, working with Laravel and working with Laravel on a big client project. So I will talk a little bit about what is the project about. I had to white label the project, so I had to remove the customer and had to remove the project name. People living in the area will recognize the branding, but yeah. So I will explain why we did what we did and the key takeaways that I take for myself. So we're talking about a healthcare compliance application. So this is very abstract. Some numbers about the project. So the scope was to allow non-experts to get expert information that's always correct and is auditable. Yes. And also external partners to get informations from inside the company through an efficient way without asking questions, but to have some portal. Yeah. And also the main goal was to have like collusion detection and fraud detection, fraud protection about the data. The data was about local laws in regards to events and in regards to payment of attendees of events and so on. So for example, if I would get paid for this talk, which I should, but I'm not, then this application could have told Ruslan how much would be like a fair market value for me, which would be 1 million, but I'm not paid. So we have data about over 100 countries in this application, together with their laws and compliance and guidance. We have multiple author roles, permissions, release processes for these documents and these data, and we have over 500 authors that work like collaboratively in this platform. We have this application, this fair market calculator. So if a person A from country X holds a presentation about Y in country B on an event that is organized by person C in country Z, how much may I pay him per hour? Yes. And this is all configurable for authors for their country. They can bring their own local laws and can configure that via back office UI. And then the end user can use that calculator with all the data inside. Then we have a guidance finder. So if person A from country X visits country Epsilon for a panel discussion, may he book a 5-star hotel? Yes. So these are these questions. Previously, before we built that application, there was like a complete Google Drive shared folder with like a gazillion documents, Excel sheets, Google Docs, and so on, holding all that information and very unstructured. And this project was about getting this structured. Also, to have audit trails, this was important, so that an auditor was able to time travel inside the data, so that he could get back and said, okay, this person got paid like $500 at April 2022 for this service in this country. And then he could log in the application and could like download the exact state of this country and the laws and the payments of that time. And also it's the single source of truth. So we have like multiple other customer applications that use this application and integrated that via API endpoints. Let me show some screenshot from the end user UI. So this is the guidance search. Yes, so that means there's like some host affiliates, some organizing parties, some participating affiliates. And then, for example, for the venue of the interaction, this tells you like what is the global guidance and what are the exceptions per country. Yeah. And there's like a gazillion different categories of data that we can have and also excludes. Then there are also countries that don't trust each other. So there's like a matrix of trusted countries per country. Yeah. Then we have this fair market calculator. That means, so if you want to organize an event in Switzerland and it's an advisory board and you want to invite someone who is like consulting and he's like a healthcare professional and he's like a tier 1 healthcare professional, that means like internationally known, then this means that the fair market value as an hourly rate for that person is like 500 Swiss francs. And then you can say like, okay, he has like 4 hours of service and he needs like 1 hour of preparation time. And then you get like a maximum fee for the service. And then you can print that and then you have that there. Yeah. So this is like the end user application. And this is, I mean, the configuration is complex and there's a lot of options, but the end user UI is not the problem. The problem is like holding all that data with all that different options and making this accessible to authors. Yes. This was the architecture of the initial proof of concept. So we had a backend application in Symfony and API platform. We had the client app in Vue.js 2 and Nuxt 2. And we had a back office app via React Admin, which was automatically generated based on the Open API Swagger UI schema. Yes. We had an integration with some SEO system and some file storage S3 compatible. Yeah, we had authors, internal users, and external users. The data was stored in MariaDB. This was the initial proof of concept application that we did. And then we hit a lot of different dead ends. So for example, we did a lot of extensions of the React Admin UI, where we needed to write a lot of code. And it wasn't that good afterwards. It's just like adding like feature by feature, and the improvements were very little. The initial schema in the POC didn't account. When we started that, we had like 6 countries, and we built the architecture and the database schema based on the data from the 6 countries. And then more and more countries came with even more additions, and the database schema did not work anymore. So we were at the point where no one was happy with the back office app, because the initial requirements was like there's like 2 authors and they will do everything, and later on we had like 500, so it's not the same requirement anymore. And also like the requirements regarding the required data structure did change a lot. So we were at the point where we said, okay, how are we going to change that system? And the customer was also very price intensive, so we needed to think about a solution. And after like evaluating a lot of different things, now let me first show, this is how the React Admin UI looked. So you had like a lot of different entities, and you could like list entities, and you could like edit entities or create entities, but it was like there were like a lot of relations between different entities in this app, and this was not possible to display at any kind. So you always had like to edit or create like one entity. You could never get like the full picture. Yeah, and then we decided to do a migration to a Laravel application. This was the latest version that back then was Laravel 8. Why did we do that? Because Inertia was very, very in its early days when we started that. And we hoped that we could reuse a lot of the Vue components that we already did in the new application with Inertia. And it just worked quite good. I mean, this was one part that worked really good. And we wanted some integrated back office solution. We also thought about like Symfony Easy Admin or something like that. But at the end, we like evaluated all the different solutions that were out there, and Laravel Nova back then seemed to us as a very good solution. Yeah, so we migrated the front end to Nuxt 2, Vue 2, to Inertia and Vue 3, and Symfony and API platform to Laravel 8. We didn't need all the API endpoints back then, so this was very, very lean to integrate all of this. We could save a lot of code. And we could replace React Admin with Laravel Nova 3 at that point. The tech stack overall looked then like this. So we used Jetstream template from Laravel because we had no clue about Laravel. It was the first project we ever did with Laravel. And there was the choice between like Inertia Vue and Blade, and I think it's called Livewire or something like that to get that. And we decided for Inertia Vue because we wanted to reuse these Vue components. The front end then had like Inertia.js and TypeScript, Tailwind, Webpack. The back office is now Laravel Nova 4. Back then it was Laravel Nova 3. We used a lot of contrib modules from Laravel Nova, over 30 and created over 20 custom components with a lot of code. Database and queue, we used MariaDB and Laravel Horizon with the queue worker. As infrastructure, we used GitLab CI/CD and GitLab for code, Jira Confluence for collaboration, Heroku, not our choice, but given by the customer. We used Lando for local dev and Sentry for error reporting. For code quality, we use Larastan, Pint for code style, Sonar Cloud for analysis, PHP Unit for unit tests, Dusk for end-to-end tests, and Jest for JavaScript tests. Yes, this is how the Laravel Nova UI then looked. This is like an integration. So this is like an integrated document. So you can see that, for example, this AG engagement section there, this is like a page builder. You can add elements there. It's like an inline entity view. You can drag and drop things and so on. For the fair market value calculator, you can have a lot of things like we created a lot of Nova components where you could also always like inline edit all entities via like overlays. You could inline create entities via overlays. So for the authors, this was very good because they had like one point where they needed to visit, and then they could do everything on one page. This is how the application then looked afterwards. Also adding some additional features. We had like this compliance app, which, okay, there's the typo. It's now Laravel Vue, Nova, and Swagger UI. Still using MariaDB. We have some more persons. So we have the auditor, which is now a real user role. We have a lot of other systems consuming APIs via JSON HTTP. We not only have the SSO system and the file storage, but also an additional file storage and a connection to a Tableau enterprise reporting system. Overall, it looks really simple. I also leave it at this container view because going into more detail makes it really complicated. But what I would like to talk about is after now 4 years of maintaining this application and developing and maintaining this application as an architect of the application, not as a developer. Laravel Nova or Laravel itself is always straightforward. Yes, if there is a new PHP version, if there is some new feature, it always tries to adapt that immediately. Yes, which is really nice. And for developer experience, it's very good. You can always work on latest edge technology in Laravel. Yeah, it's not so nice if you have to maintain an application for multiple years where you are not the onlyest developer team. So we started that application, we did the architecture, we still do some development, but there is a development team from Poland, from the customer, working on the same application. Yes, and they are not interested in the latest PHP features or something like that. Yes, they are doing their job in maintaining or fixing some bugs or something like that. Also, there's it's like a lack of an LTS version. So basically, you have to update every 1.5 years. Otherwise, you lose security support. Yes. So this is something that's for maintaining an application from this size in over the long run really bad. Then initially, I thought Laravel Nova is really good. Laravel Nova, after finishing the slides, I think it's more like a hatred against Laravel Nova than Laravel. But Laravel Nova is untestable. Yeah? There's like a testing suite on GitHub for Laravel Nova, which is only end-to-end tests. It's not unit testable. There are some libraries that try to change that, but it's not possible to unit test or integration test Laravel Nova components. You can only write end-to-end tests, and then each test runs for 2 minutes. Contrib is often abandoned. Someone creates something, puts it on GitHub, then never looks at it again. Yes. Yeah, you create custom components, you cannot test it unless you boot up a complete environment. Inertia is really nice. Like I said, we wanted to reuse these Vue components from the Nuxt project, which worked quite good. If used correctly, you can also pass like PHP types to TypeScript types, and then it's type safe. However, at the end, it's another programming language, another framework that you bring into your application. And I mean, you need Blade nonetheless. If you write emails, templates, you will use Blade. If you some things like login or password forget will potentially be Blade templates. So why not just stick to Blade? I'm not sure if it's worth it to do that. Yeah. Nova upgrades are really bad. And this is something where I want to go into depth because this was a killer for us. Yeah, and this is why I would never, ever do a project of this size again with Laravel Nova. Contrib of Laravel Nova sometimes has patch level dependencies because Laravel Nova releases a new patch version and then everything's broken. Yes, and this is totally stupid. Yeah, and so there's like contrib, there's like contrib modules for Laravel Nova which only like accept version 4.27.3, but not version 4.2.9. But then after 10, it's okay again, and so on. Yeah. So I paid money for that product. Yes, this is like a licensed product. You pay money for that, and this is where I want to go into detail. We had Laravel Nova 3 with a lot of custom components and a lot of contrib components. And we had to update to Laravel Nova 4 because we didn't want to lose security support. And there was a latest release for Laravel Nova 3, which says latest release, from now on only Laravel Nova 4 anymore. And Laravel Nova 3 was PHP 8.1, Laravel 9, Vue.js 2 for custom components, and Nova API for custom components. And then there was Laravel Nova 4, which was PHP 8.2, Laravel 10, Vue.js 3, and Inertia. Yes. So there was not anything that I could like split out of this upgrade. I needed to upgrade everything at once. Yeah. And this came out as this. Yeah. And someone needs to take responsibility for that. Yeah. And I was the architect. So, and I was reviewing that. We created release branches. We created like release branches of release branches. We created pull request against release branches. I tried to review small parts and then everything again and again and again. And I reviewed this like 10 times, but you don't see things anymore if you look at things that often. Yeah. And no one can responsibly review a pull request with 800 files and like 70,000 changed lines. Yeah. One of the additional project with this is problems with this is the customer wanted additional features, and the problem is not that you can like do things in parallel, but the customer always wanted features for the back office. And they could have implemented that against Laravel Nova 3, yes. But then you have additional costs afterwards to upgrade that again to Laravel Nova 4. Yeah? We would never have finished. So my suggestion to the client was, so I looked at that and said, okay, this is probably gonna take 6 weeks. Yes. So and then we said, and I aligned with the customer and said, we will stop feature development for 6 weeks, and then we're gonna release that, and afterwards we will work on your features again. Yes. At the end, this took 12 weeks. Yes. So I blocked like feature development for the customer for 12 weeks. Yeah, and a lot of people were very unhappy. Yeah. And I mean, my explanations were good and totally valid. Yes. But I mean, at the end, I think they should have just continued working on Laravel Nova 4 and 3, and we have migrated that later on. Yeah. Yes. This slide is wrong. Yeah, I think that's it. My experience with Laravel, never used Nova for big projects. Otherwise, Laravel is very good. My experience with setting up things like that, you get on the track really fast. You can do a lot of things very, very fast, but over the years, try to stick to standards. And I thought if I buy Laravel Nova, this is like the standard for Laravel. At the end, I think using something like Filament or something like that and building your admin UI yourself would have been a better solution. Yeah, but yeah. So that's it.